Hi, everybody. It's Region Weather Meteorologist Matt Wintz. It's early Wednesday afternoon. Time right now is 12:30 p.m. Central Time. So keep that in mind if you're watching this any later. But I want to make this quick. I know a lot of you probably at work right now, or you have, whatever you have going on during the daytime, probably in the middle of your routine. But I want to bring you up to speed on how we're expecting this afternoon to evolve in terms of this thunderstorm threat that you're probably starting to hear a little buzz around. We mentioned it this morning that, really over the next couple of days, we're going to have several waves or several possibilities of some showers and thunderstorms. And any one of those clusters or complexes could be severe. And there's some signs that we just can't ignore in some of the modeling that points towards a severe threat. Not with this line coming in, which is probably what you think. It's what happens after this if we can kind of destabilize a little bit. So I want to take you through the maps real quick. As always on these, again, this is going to be quick. But as always on these, I want to thank our sponsors. We've got Tiger Plumbing, Public Service Adjusting, LLC. We've got stjudehouse.org and Grieger's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram and Valparaiso. They keep this for free, which is awesome. Just a wonderful group of folks. So let's jump into it. I want to add kind of the radar of what we've got going on right now. Large complex of storms that we saw develop back towards areas of Nebraska this morning. This produced widespread damaging winds across areas of Nebraska, Iowa, and areas of northern Missouri. But this thing's really starting to fade. This is probably what you're thinking is, wow, this is the big complex coming in. It's not this. What this is going to do, we have some storms around the region right now. They're not severe. This whole complex is not severe either. The whole thing's starting to weaken a little bit. But what this is going to do is bring in a real good soaking rain. It'll start to fade as it moves in, so it won't be quite as robust as what you're seeing right now out towards the west. But this is going to be rain over the next couple hours, all right? Embedded lightning with it, but I'm not expecting anything severe out of this giant complex that you see right here. Problem is, and I don't know if this is going to happen or not, and here's why. So here's what the modeling's saying. I'll just kind of give it to you up front before I throw my opinion in there. This little area up towards here is a cold pool loft, all right? Kind of where I've got my mouse circled there. This way through the region, and as it does so, do we get enough destabilization of the atmosphere? Can our atmosphere recover? We've had rain pretty much all morning. We're going to have more rain with this as it moves on through. For once this swirl part gets severe thunderstorms around here, that's going to be the big question, okay? So here's what the modeling's been doing really over the last 6 or 7 model runs. It brings the main area of rain through, again, over the next couple hours. But the back side of this right in here, right there, I know it doesn't look like much, but there's a lot of rotation and shear in the atmosphere with this because of some of the mesoscale features and some of the upper air jet energy we have. So that being said, after this rain moves through over the next couple hours, can we bring the sun back out? Can we bounce our dew points back up? Can we bring some instability, a little instability gradient out of the south into here? Does that all happen? And will that spark showers and thunderstorms again that redevelop? Probably in the 4, 5, 6, 7 o'clock hours, which isn't much time, right? We've got to get this rain out of here. But can we do that? If we do, again, the models, the guidance has been very consistent in developing these showers and thunderstorms, and these would all be supercells, all right? Remember, storms rotate all the time, but this afternoon we could be watching some rotating supercells that move kind of through the Chicago, northern Illinois area, but they would move into northwest Indiana, given what some of the guidance has said. You can see there, again, that's later on this afternoon and evening, okay? That's the big question. This is not a slam dunk that we're going to get severe storms. The potential's there this afternoon if we can clear up and if we can destabilize that atmosphere again to pop some storms, which could be on the very potent side and could carry a rotation risk with them as well, okay? All that is being agreed upon by the Storm Prediction Center. They're the ones in Normal, Oklahoma that issue all the outlooks. And you can see we are under a slight risk, but this is the notable part is the tornado risk. Anytime it's 2%, that's a pretty high tornado risk, but they've updated to have this little 5% area stretching from northern Illinois through all of northern Indiana, includes southern Michigan as well, and then back towards areas of northwest Ohio. So again, the threat is there. This is not a guarantee. This isn't one of those things that we, in the fall or springtime, we have a front coming in and we know there's going to be thunderstorms that develop and we know they're going to be severe. This is a kind of wait and see kind of situation, but the atmosphere has a potential later on this afternoon to be loaded and to produce some rotating thunderstorms, which in turn could produce some tornadoes. Okay. So just want to get the word out there. Again, this isn't like a scare tactic kind of thing. It's just, I want you to have a heads up. I want you to be aware that this afternoon into the evening hours, you're going to need to have your weather app handy. Obviously, if I'm not on the TV side of things, we'll be covering it as well. So we've got you covered in that. Boy, last couple severe events have been right when I've been on TV, so it hasn't been able to work out. But we'll be around this evening, okay? So that's what we're dealing with. I'd be happy to answer a couple of your questions, then we'll get you on your way. Again, if you're just tuning in, we've got this big complex of storms that's moving in right now. It's not severe. We're going to get some good rain out of it over the next couple hours. That moves out, and then we wait and see what happens with the atmosphere, because the backside of this will kind of rotate in, and that could pop some storms that are severe. So it's later on this afternoon and evening that we're concerned with. I am not concerned about the line that's moving in right now, okay? So we're fine till afternoon and evening, all right? So that's that. All right, so let's get to your questions here, and then we'll get you on your way. I'm not sure. We may be seeing each other later today. So let's just say that. Susie, you're welcome. Elizabeth, yes, 6 or 7-ish. Could be a little earlier than that. Could be a little later than that. It all depends on when these develop. And again, it's not lazy forecasting from meteorologists this time of year. It is just such a complex scenario. Model guidance is virtually no help in these kind of setups where you have a cluster or complex of storms that determines where the next complex of storms develops. It really is chaos and randomness in the atmosphere this time of year. All right. There's no movement. You don't have sharp fronts where the rain's going to be focused. You know how it's going to behave. It really is chaos. And a lot of it revolves around what happens hours leading up to it, because storms will put down outflow boundaries that kick up new storms. And there's no way in the modeling that the models can pick up where a storm exactly is going to be and where exactly storms pop off of that outflow boundary. It's not there yet. So that's why this is kind of a big question mark this afternoon if this happens. But it's not usual that we see this threat several model runs. We've had 5 or 6 HRRR model runs, which is short term, that have picked up on this. And so, once you get 4 or 5 in a row, you start to say, okay, well, maybe it's picking up on some kind of feature, and it certainly is. So we'll see if it happens, okay? Let's see. Maxwell, no. He asked if it's going to be a high shear, low cape scenario. There's a lot of shear, yes, but the cape, I think, will be back, and that's the thing. And I can actually show that to you here. We'll go to when Maxwell's talking about CAPE, you've heard me talk about this a lot. CAPE stands for convective available potential energy. Basically, how much energy does the atmosphere have to support severe weather? Okay, so here's what we're dealing with now. Virtually there's no instability whatsoever outside. All right, and the reason why is because it's rained all morning. Okay, we rely on heat, humidity, which we have the humidity, but we don't have the heat. And so there's hardly any reason for these storms coming in to even turn severe. They're all weakening. But watch what happens this afternoon. Says the modeling. See that little sliver that kind of comes back up in here? That would be on the order of 15 enough to support severe weather. Okay, so we can support severe weather at this level, and that would create, some decent storms. The other thing I like to look at, there's a couple things. There's significant tornado parameter, which factors in all the different, it's a big algorithm that factors in everything that can produce tornadoes, and it shows you where the likelihood is. And you see, again, it's this little sliver right here. It's a little window. It's really not much time, but again, it's later on this afternoon into the evening hours where there's a window. If we do clear up and we do destabilize that atmosphere, that we could pop some storms that, again, would be rotating. And then last thing I want to show you, helicity swaths. I like to look at this too. This shows you potential thunderstorms that would have some spin to them. And again, it's just modeling. You notice it's kind of targeting areas of northern Illinois more so than our area. But again, it's too close to call. So that threat is going to be not just for northern Illinois, Chicago as well, but for northern Indiana. And the Storm Prediction Center has picked up on that. They agree with that. Here's your tornado risk. Again, 5% chance within 50 miles, I believe it is. which, I don't like to get into the weeds and the facts like, well, 50 miles and 5%. Like, let's not play percentages. The chance is there this afternoon. Okay. All right. Let's see. Christopher's going to Virginia. I hope the rain doesn't follow you to Virginia. I think it's raining in Virginia too. This is a very rainy pattern with these complexes, so it probably will. Justin asked, do I think the instability will build back? Justin, it's a big question. I kind of hesitate to think it does. We just had so much rain and cloud cover, and this next complex isn't going to help. But we will have some time. I mean, we will have a little time after this moves through. This next complex of rain coming in looks massive, but it's shrinking, and so there's going to be that. So we'll see what happens with this. One of the things we can always check is to see what the satellite's doing and kind of see what we're dealing with out towards the north and west of us. I hesitate to open any new web pages here in my basement because it's so slow. Plus, my wife is working here, so she's got all sorts of stuff in there or not. But Justin, at this point, I don't know. I kind of lean that it won't, but I don't want to say that. And then we have these robust thunderstorms later today. But that's kind of just how we're going. Jalen asks, any tornado threat for Hobart? Yeah, this would be a tornado threat for all of us. Again, Jalen, it's not a slam dunk. This is not a guarantee this afternoon. This is basically how in the wintertime when we have lake effect snow, and that's virtually impossible to predict, and we say, 5 to 6 inches where snow squalls persist. This is going to be if storms develop. Okay. So I know, again, it's not lazy, but I just want to get the word out there. Okay. Yeah, Adri, the Festival of Lakes, I know that's going on tonight. There's a chance this stuff doesn't develop. So just keep an eye on the radar. It doesn't look good for our events later on today. I'll just say that. Elizabeth, thanks for answering that question. Ashley, not yet. No tornado watches yet. I think what the Storm Prediction Center is going to wait on is to see if this area destabilizes. There is much in question about this as we are, as anyone trying to forecast the weather is, because situations like this, you're waiting for something to end to see if the next thing begins. And so we have to wait for this giant complex to end to see how the atmosphere behaves, to see if that develops later on. So it's kind of hinging on that, okay? Let's see. Yeah, Jamie, I hope you land later today. I see your comment there about landing in Chicago at 3:55. I think, well, I don't want to say that, but at 3:55 we may be okay. I think that may be a little bit on the early end of things, but I'm so in question on this. And normally I have the answers for you guys, and I wish I did, but I don't in this. Okay, so I just want to make this very clear that this is just an informational post, informational live broadcast that we're doing here, just to let you know that we're going to be on it this afternoon, and I want you guys to be on it as well. So have your weather apps handy. Best case scenario, Mike, thanks for the kind words. Best case scenario is that we stay cloudy, the sun doesn't come back out, we don't build back that instability, and we don't deal with storms later tonight. Okay, there's a chance that can happen too. Worst case scenario is that once this complex of rain moves through over the next couple hours, we clear out, it's still humid outside, we heat up, and that's enough for this little swirl to come in and produce some supercell thunderstorms. The good news about all this is that we're going to be tracking these in, okay? Sometimes storms are blowing up right over Northwest Indiana. Not the case this afternoon. This is going to be something we're seeing coming in on radar from the Northwest. So we'll have a little bit of a heads up as this is moving in. So that's a good news. And that will give me a little heads up as well to get you guys that information, which is good. Okay. Elizabeth, I know it's storming really hard right now in Hammond. We've got heavy rain with this. These are not severe storms. So, compared to what we could see this afternoon, this is not a bad storm. It's going to move in with the system that's coming in from the west right now. So just keep that in mind. Okay. All right, guys, we got you covered this afternoon. Just make sure you're weather aware. That's the whole messaging behind this. Again, that window is going to be, I would say, anytime after 3 p.m. Central Time. I would lean a little bit later than that, but that's when we'll really start to have a keen eye on the radars. And let's just hope nothing happens this afternoon, okay? Let's hope it's quiet. But again, that potential's there, okay? All right, we'll be back with you later as needed. And thank you guys for joining us. I appreciate you taking time out of your Wednesday afternoon to join us here on